Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Carrie. It's about 2 a.m.-ish, nearly, probably. Maybe it's there by now. And I am sitting in my downstairs bathroom, leaning on the toilet lid. This is how I roll when I do my little cover songs, as lame as they may be, because my voice is pretty crappy, but what can I say? I love to sing, so I subject you to the torture of listening to me if you are kind enough to do so. Um, I don't know. We haven't just shot the shit in a while, so I figured I'd do that. Um, this has actually been a really pretty fucking extraordinary week for me, and that's a really big thing for me to be able to say because most of my weeks and days and hours and minutes suck hard. You guys, if you've been here at all, know that I suffer from pervasive depressive disorder. That's a tongue twister, and generalized anxiety disorder. So my life is a shit show, and it has been pretty much since I shot out of my mother's womb about a week and a half early, back in May of 73. So yeah, if you don't know how old I am, or if you didn't before, now you do. But yeah, I am kind of a hot mess, minus the hot most of the time. But this week has been really, really great. Um, it's, well, now Friday morning, and I did some really good shit. Monday, my husband Brian and I went to the Bronx Zoo, which was super fun, even though it was insanely hot. We're zoo pass holders now. I always say annual pass holders because I'm used to the only time I had an annual pass for anything being in Florida, in which cases those were at different periods, Disney, SeaWorld, and Universal Studios, but they were true annual passes. We didn't know until after we bought them, but the Bronx Zoo passes are not really annual because technically the zoo closes in November and doesn't reopen, I don't think, till February. So you lose out on 3 whole months or something, with the exception of special events. And some of those you have to pay extra for, even if you're a pass holder. So whatever. I mean, it's still an excellent value. We've been there. My hair's crazy. Don't mind that. But anyway, we have been to the zoo now since we bought our passes in May, 5 times, and it typically costs you $40 for an adult to get into the zoo, unless you go on Wednesdays where they take a suggested donation. But spoiler alert, it's not really worth it to go on Wednesdays, because even if you don't donate a penny, and that's kind of crappy to not donate a little something, you have to pay for all of the premium things, which include the monorail and the Congo. I think it might just be called the Congo Forest, where the gorillas are, which is one of my favorite things to see. The children's zoo, the carousel, trying to think what else. The butterfly exhibit, and I know there's at least one more thing. Oh, there's just treetop trek thing that we haven't done yet because I'm too fat and out of shape, and I would probably die if I attempted it because it requires a little strenuous exercise. And I feel like there's one more thing that I'm forgetting, but I'm forgetting, so I don't know what it is. But anyhow, we've more than gotten our money's worth in the visits we've done, because with the addition of the parking pass, which FYI is $17 per trip to the zoo, so that's a lot of money. So basically, if you went by yourself, you'd be paying $57, and for two people, $97. So we paid $170 because we paid the $140 for the 1+1 type dealio, which basically, I think that's what we did. Or did we do the couples one? I forget. There's two different versions of one for two people. One is two set people, I think, on the passes, and then for I think slightly more money, maybe you can get a 1+1 that's you plus whoever else you want to bring. And In retrospect, we probably should have done that one because I can see myself going to the zoo with just my mom sometimes too. So if we'd gotten the pass in just my name, then I could have gone with Brian or my mother, but you know, we didn't think about that. But anyway, we paid $170 for that, and the money we put towards that was part of an extremely generous gift that a dear friend of mine sent around my birthday. I mean, like, beyond generous. I'm not going to name her, but she knows who she is if she's watching this. And yeah, so I mean, if you do the math, $97 with parking for one trip for 2 people, and we paid $170. We've been there 5 times, so yeah, it's well worth it. And FYI, again, if you buy the passes, that includes all the premium shit, so it's well worth it. So we did that on Monday, and it was super fun, even though it was really hot. And when I got home, I was super dehydrated, even though I tried to, like, you know, replenish my fluids or whatever. Obviously I didn't drink enough water, so I felt really crappy, and I was really nervous because I knew that on Tuesday I had more super awesome plans, and I was like, oh my god, I can't be sick tomorrow. I'm fucking going. I have to get over this shit. So I just laid in bed and guzzled water, like bottle after bottle, and Brian fetched me some watermelon, which is like the magical cure. FYI, if you are ever, I keep saying fucking FYI, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be repetitive, but like I said, insomnia, it's the middle of the night, or technically early in the morning. But even more hydrating, I feel like, than water is watermelon, especially if it's ice cold out of the fridge. I drank like 2 bottles of water and didn't feel any better. And then he brought me up like maybe 5 or 6 wedges of watermelon, and I ate that, and holy shit, I felt better within minutes. It's almost like watermelon is more hydrating than water, which is probably not technically possible, but it sure felt that way to my body. So it's like, thank you, Jesus, Lord, whoever the fuck is up there, whatever's up there, or wherever it resides. I was really happy that I felt better, because I knew the next day I was going to the city, and by the city I mean New York City. I always feel like everybody's from New York and we just call it the city. If you live on Long Island or probably anywhere else in the state, you just call it the city. So yeah, you don't even say Manhattan, really. It's just weird and awkward for us. But anyway, I was going to the city to meet a friend who I met on Facebook. I actually had to go back and check because I couldn't remember when we met exactly, but I think it was November of 2019. So we've been friends for like 1.5 years now, but we'd never actually met in person. We totally met through social media, and it started on Facebook. We had a mutual friend in common, and, you know, we just became friends through that. I actually reached out to her and, you know, sent a friend request, and, you know, was like, hey, you know, we have this mutual friend, and, you know, I'm a fan of your work, and, you know, I just think you seem like a really cool person, and, you know, I hope you don't mind that I sent you a friend request. And evidently she didn't, because we became friends. She accepted it and we became friends. And I was so excited for this meeting because I really, number one, like I kind of implied, or if I didn't outright say it, I don't do a whole hell of a lot. But number two, there was just something about this woman that I just knew that we were going to click. I usually get so super nervous about things like meeting someone for the first time in person, and I really had no nerves at all because I just felt really confident that we were just gonna, you know, be like, you know, peas and carrots, and we were just gonna get along like gangbusters right out of the gate. And we did, and it actually surpassed any and all expectations I might have had, because she's fucking amazing. I just adore her, and we had so much in common, like more than I think either of us expected or realized. And we just opened up to each other about really personal shit that people that have known me for decades don't necessarily know. And I would assume that that probably goes likewise for her. And obviously I'm revealing none of it because it's personal, but the fact that we were able to open up to each other so quickly, it was really beyond my wildest dreams. It was more than I ever imagined, and it just felt so natural and cool to like have this really, really unusual for me experience. And I suspect for her as well. I think we were both like really taken by surprise by just how quickly we connected. Not that we hadn't online, but sometimes it's different in person. I don't have that experience too often where I meet someone on social media before I meet them in real life. It's only happened a handful of times. No, I shouldn't say that. A lot of the friends that I met through conventions, we actually became friends on Facebook first before we actually attended. Well, no, that would be ridiculous. Why would I friend them on Facebook until we attended a con together? No, the most of those friends I actually did meet in real life, in person first. I hate saying in real life, by the way, because for me, I mean, if you're a genuine human being and you're not trying to, perpetrate some kind of fraud on social media is real life too. Like, newsflash, not everybody puts out a false front. There are actually people who just present themselves as they truly are on social media. I am one of those people, as is my friend, as are most of the people that mean the most to me in life and that I'm tightest with. There are a few that people that are dear to me who aren't on social media all that often. And obviously I have some friends, from before the time of social media, but not a whole lot, to be honest. And not a whole lot aside from possibly convention people. And I hate to use categories because I don't want any one friendship or group of friends to seem any less important than any other. I have, a decent amount of friends, far more acquaintances, obviously, and then, maybe two handfuls of people who I truly trust 100% and confide in. Although really, that may not even necessarily be true either, because I confide a lot in way too many people, I think. My therapist certainly has a few thoughts about that. She's like, just because something happens to you doesn't mean it has to go out for the world to see on social media. But like I said to my friends on Tuesday, I spent the first 25 years of my life pretty much not saying a fucking word to anybody. I mean, I wasn't completely friendless and alone in the world. I had some friends, but I had no social life. Like, I didn't go to parties or dances or any of the shit that people do in high school or in college or whatever. Or even for a few years after that. It wasn't until I was 25 that I actually went on my first date and met my first boyfriend. And, I think I've shared a little bit about that, but that all went on warp speed because I was like, fuck, I'm 25. I got a lot of catching up to do. So basically, I went on my first date and I lost my virginity and I got engaged within like a month. So yeah, nothing like making up for lost time, Carrie. But anyway, so I don't know. I don't know where I was going with all this other than to get back to the fact that the friend I hung out with on Tuesday is such an amazing human, and I'm so incredibly happy to have her in my life and to have taken things to a different level. Because as much as you talk online, and I'm not saying that I don't have people that I'm super close to that I know exclusively online, that is not the case at all. But I think anyone who has had online friendships that began online and then subsequently, you met the person face to face and actually hung out together, there's a difference, and sometimes you can be really comfortable with someone on the internet, and then when you meet them and again, I'm saying in real life, but you know what I mean, you don't necessarily find that things go as well as you hope. And I'm really happy to say that Tuesday far surpassed my expectations. So that was thing 2. Thing 3 was that on Wednesday, I actually had a monthly writing group that I'm a part of. I'm so fortunate to be a part of an incredible group of women in a forum that is run by women for free, just as a way of giving back to, the world at large. And I've been doing that now for, I think, 5 months. And it's something I really look forward to every month. So it was like, wow, bing, bam, boom. I have 3 days in a row of like really awesome shit to do. When usually, you know, if I go out to eat with my husband or we walk around the mall, you know, that's pretty much the extent of our week. Or like go grocery shopping or something like earth-shattering, exciting like that. Walmart, Target, woohoo, you know, party central. But I don't typically do a whole lot, and certainly not all in one week, like bing, bang, boom, 3 days in a row. That was like unheard of. So yeah, I was super stoked about that. And as it happens, said friend that I met on Tuesday, I shared with her that I'm working on a novel, which I've mentioned a few times, I think, here on the channel. And I started it in February of 2019. I don't know why I keep like scratching my legs incessantly. Sorry, that's why you may see my arms move and my head look down, because I don't know, I'm itchy. But anyway, I could be sitting on the floor. I don't know. But I started this book. The initial idea came to me in a dream, and I don't often remember my dreams, good, bad, or otherwise. So the fact that I even remembered this dream, let alone had like inspiration to write something in it, was pretty extraordinary. And for the first couple months, I wrote pretty regularly. I never had like a set schedule. I'm not regimented at all about things, which is definitely one of my flaws, one of my many, many flaws. So I would write, a fair amount, because I was actually, as I started to get into the idea of this character, my heroine, who I just love and admire and think the world of, and just, she's like my hero or shero in many, many ways. She's just, I can't wait for you guys to get to meet her, and I hope that'll happen one day. Like, my biggest dream is to actually finish this book and send it out to agents and get an agent and get my ass published, because I think, and you guys know that I'm far from my biggest fan. In fact, I'm my own worst enemy most of the time. But I think the book is damn good. I think it's really a compelling story that'll resonate with a lot of people, a fairly wide range of people. I would imagine women mostly, but maybe men will enjoy it too. I don't know. But it's the thing I'm probably most proud of that I've ever done. And it's, it was going like gangbusters at first. And every week, like I said, back in February 2019, this was before anyone, could even conjure a thought of something like COVID and a global pandemic. When I was seeing my therapist in person, I would actually share excerpts from the story with her. I'm not even sure I technically have it defined by chapters yet. I'm calling them parts right now, because they may be edited or expanded upon. But sorry, now my eyes are itchy too. Allergies, I think. But maybe weed. I took a few drops of THC oil about an hour ago, so maybe that's part of why I'm itchy. I don't know. I'm new to weed, so I don't know if that's a side effect or a symptom or whatever the proper word would be, being itchy. Itchy eyes, maybe. The itchy legs, I don't know. I think that's more sitting on the floor. But anyway, that's beside the point. Ramble much? The train gets frequently derailed. So if you're new around here, I'm sorry if that's irritating or like off-putting, but that's just how I roll. Making up for lost time. Like I said, 25 years of being awfully quiet and not really sharing myself with anybody. Now I can't be stopped. I just talk constantly. And even though I still consider myself that shy, awkward wallflower, or like I prefer to say weed, because I was more like a weed than a flower, not the good kind of weed. I am making up for less time and talking nonstop now and sharing a lot. So I tend to ramble and go off on different tangents. So try to keep track if you can. I hope you can. But anyway, so yeah, so I was really good about writing at first, and probably was writing at least once every 2 or 3 weeks for the first probably 6 months. And then I kind of lost interest for a little bit. Just not necessarily lost interest, because I was still really excited and happy with, with my heroine. And though I guess part of the problem was that from day one, I was writing this book out of sequence. I would have an idea and I'd start to flesh out a chapter, and then I'd go back to an earlier time, not in a flashback way, but in a, okay, now we're going to write about her when she was younger, and then forward again. And, there was nothing linear about my writing process. So maybe that was part of the problem. I've only written a few other pieces of length, and those wrote when I was like 12 through, the end of college. And technically I wrote a novella in college. I never attempted publication, but my professor called it that because it was a long fiction class. So you had to write like one piece continuously throughout the entire semester. And I finished it, and that was pretty cool because I have notebooks somewhere in my house, my mother's house, like stacks of notebooks of books I started to write, like I said, from the time I was like 12. And I never finished any except for one. And like in retrospect, it just makes me laugh. I haven't read it in probably 30 years, but it was written very much in the style of a soap opera because I was super into soaps from the time I was, well, my earliest memory of soaps, watching soaps, was when I was 5. I can still clearly recall coming home from half-day kindergarten on the elephant bus, and then coming home and planting my ass on a really tacky, early 80s. No, actually, no, if I was 5, we're not even in the 80s yet. We're still in the 70s. We're still in 78, dude. Or 79, depending on, no, it would have been 78. Anyway, no, it could have been early 79 if I was 5. I didn't turn 6 until May of 79. Rambling, derailed train. Get back on the tracks, Carrie. But I remember vividly coming home, like I said, from half-day kindergarten on the school bus, the elephant bus, because kids obviously were incapable of knowing numbers or letters at 5, I guess, even though you wouldn't have to necessarily know how letters or numbers worked. You would just have to remember that one word, just like you'd remember the name of an animal. But I guess, I don't know, animals were conceptually easier for 5-year-olds, I guess. I don't know. I'm a weirdo. I learned to read at 3 and I was self-taught, like, other than watching PBS. So I don't know. I'm atypical in some ways. But I digress yet again. I remember coming home, sitting on the tacky carpet with my TV tray with my lunch on it, and sitting in front of a ginormous like box console set, which you youngins won't know what that is. Google a console television and you will see they were big as fuck, and they generally sat on the floor of whatever room they were in. At least in my house they did. And most of my friends' houses that I can remember from that period of my life. And because when I was little, I actually had friends that I hung out with, like kids down the street, but again, not the point. But I remember watching Ryan's Hope. That was the point, the ABC soap opera. So I vividly recall watching soaps from the time I was 5, and probably watched earlier than that, if my mom was into them, which I don't remember her being into them, like, at all, but I guess they were just what she put on. Like, I don't know, she just put on Channel 7, because in New York, the 3 networks were ABC 7, and still are, NBC 4, and CBS 2, and, Fox wasn't even a gleam in somebody's eye at that point. So there was that, and then there was Pix 11, WOR Channel 9, and Channel 13, which was PBS. And, so with that few stations, I don't know, maybe the TV just landed on Channel 7, or she was, after she watched Password, she just left it on that channel. But I grew up with soaps, and I wrote this book in the style of a soap opera. So, like, by chapter like 7 or 8, I'd be introducing new characters, because that happens on the soaps all the time with, my 12-year-old brain not realizing that, no, that's not how books work, honey. You start with characters and you follow through with those same characters, unless it's a series of short stories or an anthology of some type. You can't just add people like willy-nilly throughout the entire course of the book, at times that don't feel appropriate when you've already established that these are the people you're writing about, and then you kind of lose interest in them and you write about the new people exclusively. Yeah, didn't work for a book. But anyway, so I've been writing forever, but this feels like the real deal. Like, I call it my novel all the time. I call it the book that I'm writing, because I want with all my heart to believe that it will be published one day. And if I have to self-publish it, then, there were worse things. I would really like to send it to an actual publishing house, and, hopefully that will work. I guess that all depends on getting an agent and what the agent has to say about that. But I believe, and I'm not confident about really anything else, but I do believe that I can write well. And I do believe that this story deserves to be read. And I mean that with all the humbleness in the world, because believe me, like I said, I'm not a fan of myself at all. But I'm honest with you guys, and when it comes to writing, I think that's something I do well. So anyway, I decided to, mention to my friend on Tuesday at lunch, that I'm writing a novel, and would you be interested in reading it? And she expressed, a lot of interest in that. So I was super stoked. And I had sent a chapter or two to 2 other people via email. One is a very close friend and one not so much. That's another story. And they, as far as I know, never read it. And it's been a long time. So, I don't know. I don't remember. Did I send it to anyone else? Maybe. I don't know. But the point is, no one ever reacted or responded as if they had read it. So the only people that had ever heard any of it were my therapist and my husband, who I read excerpts to as I was going along in the process. But no one had read all of it, and no one had read it in order. Like, since I wrote it out of sequence, my therapist knew like the climax of the book within like the second or third time I read, because I had that fleshed out already. But this friend is actually reading the story as it happens, like in the proper sequence. So there's like 3 chapters that I've written that I can't send her yet because they're way ahead and I have to fill in the blanks first. But ever since I sent it to her, and, with the fully expecting in my mind that, maybe in a month or 2 she'd read it and maybe say something about it. But I didn't necessarily even know for sure. I mean, I believe that she would, because that's who she is, but not because like, oh, she has this like super vested interest in my writing. But as it happened, she actually read it right away, which means the world to me. If you're watching this by any chance, Tuesday friend, you know who you are. I love you, and the fact that you did that, I can't even tell you what it means to me, but so immensely much. So thank you for that. I will be forever grateful. And she seems to be really enjoying it, and that lit a fire under my ass. And in the subsequent past 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday, I actually got 3 chapters written, possibly not completely. And again, I should say parts, because they're not necessarily completed chapters. Nothing's been edited or proofread. Well, no, I proofread as I go along, but nothing's really been edited much. I just, I'm just throwing down the content, and then, I'll make changes later, or whoever, professionally edits it, knock on wood, will make changes later. But yeah, that's huge. That's really huge. And they were written in real time, like in the book's real time. So there were things that I could send her right away. And I sent her one earlier today, and she really enjoyed it. And then or maybe last night, I don't remember. And then I sent her the other 2 chapters I wrote later in the day, later in the evening. And I'm assuming she hasn't read them yet, because I haven't heard back. But that's totally fine. Like I said, I wouldn't have expected her to read it right away. And I even said when I, messaged her or emailed her rather, I just was like, at your leisure, please enjoy this. I hope you'll enjoy this at your leisure. But it feels so fucking good to be proud of myself for something. And I am. Several things. And they all happened in such rapid fire succession. It's just really a good feeling. So I'm waiting for the shoe to drop. And it has, to a degree. Something really personal is going on in my family that I don't wish to disclose at this time because it's not really for me to share. But it's incredibly upsetting, and I'm trying to compartmentalize and not think about it too much, because if I do, I will just lose my shit completely. But yeah, other than that one horrific bit of news and something I'm dealing with, this has been a really good week. So I'm waiting for the shoe to drop and, you know, the rest of the week to just suck. But knock on wood again. I first saw this gesture, knock on wood, with someone knocking on their head, by the way, in a movie called Ruby in Paradise, which you must watch immediately, if not sooner. Ashley Judd did it years ago, and it's an indie film, and it's gorgeous and beautiful, and I just love it so much. It still remains my favorite Ashley Judd performance. But yeah, one of the characters did that, and then her character, Ruby, started doing that too. I could never figure it out unless it goes back to Charlie Brown being a blockhead, like a block of wood. I don't know. This is the shit I think about. But anyway, I make that gesture. So if I've ever done that on camera before and you were like, what the fuck is she knocking on her head for? That's why I do that when I knock wood. And if I say it, I should do it. Do it. That's like I said, do it. I can really speak. I actually have a fairly decent speaking voice, and I can enunciate my words pretty well when I'm not, you know, up in the middle of the night or ass crack of dawn, whatever. No, it's in between that. It's early morning, but not dawn. Whatever, rambles. I'm gonna have to wrap this soon because I'm at almost 32 minutes, and my stupid camera on my phone like shuts off at a certain point shortly after a half hour. I have no idea why it does that, or if it's YouTube doing that. But yeah, I'm not any more tired, but I feel like a little better in my heart space that I talked with you guys. So that's a thing. And I guess I should probably try to go back to bed, or, you know, go to bed and hopefully fall asleep with my cat, Venus, my baby, on top of me, because she loves to sleep on my body, like literally, whether I'm on my side or my tummy, which are the two positions I sleep in, usually in my stomach. But she'll climb on me whatever position I'm laying in and just make herself at home. It's the cutest thing. But I'm sure she's up there now, like laying exactly where I'd be laying, and I'm going to have to move her when I go up, and I hate displacing her. But I'm going to try to sleep, but maybe not right away. I'll probably end up singing some more or something. But I love you guys. I know this video was all the fuck over the place, but thanks for hanging in if you made it to the end. If you did, maybe comment what your best technique is for dealing with insomnia, because I could use all the suggestions I can get. But I love you guys. You know this. Thank you for listening and bearing with me, and I will be back soon with more stuff.